Super Bowl.
43, game on the line. Williams lofting one for a deuce. He caught
it! You're listening to the world's #1 football podcast. Now, here are your hosts, Ben Hanson, Matt Hartman, and Ryan Matthews.
Ben Hanson and Matt Hartman. Ryan was supposed to join us. He is having some apartment issues just due to the weather. The weather's not treating everyone the most kind, but I digress. It is me and Matt covering the free agency and all the havoc that these, I mean, I say 3 days, but there's been a lot of moves that's kind of been made since Friday of last week, but we'll get into it all. But before we get into any of that, Matt, how are we doing?
I'm doing great, Ben. Free agency, I think, is always fun for everybody because it's the only time of the year where we just get mass amounts of information, like just so much information being thrown at you, so many so many players switching teams, and I think it's a ton of fun. And I mean, when you get a trade rescinded, some of the biggest news going into the weekend, and then it gets rescinded a few days later, and very anonymously the Raiders report it. It's just been a fascinating start to free agency. So
yeah, it's great. As you said, you get a whole lot of information about like the way teams want to go. This even feeds into like draft stuff of it all. Like this helps kind of clear up the picture about where teams might go with the draft. ETN probably rules out, rules out Jeremiah Love for you guys. Ken Walker rules it out for the Chiefs, so on and so forth. Those are just examples. But as you said, it kind of leads you down a path. Those are the guys that I decided to pick, by the way, is because we're going to be recording our running back draft rankings today. It's not going to go live. It'll probably go live Friday. Make sure you guys keep an eye out for that. It'll be great. We've watched or done every other offensive position other than offensive line to this point. So make sure you guys, commenting, engaging on that. But we'll get right into what you kind of tease. Friday night, like everyone was probably like winding down. It was like 9:00 my time, 9:30ish. It would have been 8:30 your time, and no one expected any news. And then out of nowhere, it was, bang! The Ravens send 2 first-round picks for Max Crosby, and everyone's like, whoa! Like, how does this, this is crazy, 2 first-round picks, aging guy, he might be hurt, but, good on them. He's a real game changer. And, fantastic for the Raiders. You can get 2 first-round picks. You get the cap space is now off the books. It really allows you to kind of usher in this new level to your franchise, this new face stepping forward into it. And then as of last night, it gets rescinded. And there were so many people arguing back and forth. Ravens fans were like, screw you, Raiders, you took us out of the running for all these different players. And Raiders fans are like, screw you, we wanted the 2 first-round picks, and now you're not doing it anymore. I, for one, think it's a pretty scummy move. I understand why the Ravens did it and why Eric DeCosta did it. It makes sense if you can, turn around and sign Trey Hendricks, who they did, to $28 million a year without having to give up 2 first-round picks. Go for it. I understand it. But, you also kind of agreed to it already. But I do respect him for being, upfront about it, and he didn't beat around the bush with it. He was just very much it wasn't the right move for the team. He didn't, cop out. He wasn't it's injury-related, all these different stuff. But your thoughts, what was your reaction? Does this have an impact on what the Raiders are going to do in free agency? Because they spent a whole lot of money. But I'll let you take the floor.
Yeah, I don't think it affects the Raiders in any sense because most of their
No.
guys seems they have signed, and I think all it does is, you know, kind of opens the door to where, hey, like Crosby's going to rejoin us for the time being, but at the same time, we still got 40 days till the draft, and we'd like to have another pick in this draft. I think that's the biggest thing. Um, but from the Ravens side of things, to immediately, I think what raises everybody's alarm bells is that in 12 hours we get notice that the trade is rescinded. 12 hours later, Trey Hendrickson is a Raven. So like again, it's really hard to convince any of the public that you rescinded the trade because you got word of a weaker Hendrickson market. Because Eric DeCosta said, like, we wanted to pair them together. We wanted to pair them together. That's fine, maybe, but they were like, there's no Lamar extension. There was no way to like get Lamar's cap hit down outside of the restructure that they did after the fact. So if they were planning on doing that, a restructure likely would have come sooner to create the cap for Hendrickson for the time being. But still, I think that, again, I think there is medical relation to this, personally. Because when you are giving up 2 first-round picks for a third contract player, which has never been done before, by the way.
Yeah.
Like, we are reaching new heights for this team. I think everybody took a step back and said, hey, this is a guy who's played more defensive line snaps than anybody since he's entered the league. He's going to be 30 years old next season. And we don't know if he's going to be the same player in 3 years. And so maybe Hendrickson isn't, but at least we have the picks. You know, like I think that is a part of it. And you think about Baltimore's track record with first round picks since 21. Like, I was looking at it today. I was like, okay, there's a reason why this team wants to keep their picks. Like Adafe Owe, Tyler Linderbaum, Kyle Hamilton, Zay Flowers, Nate Wiggins, and what is it? Like,
Starks.
They've never really swung and missed on these players, and this is the highest pick they've had since the Hamilton pick. So again, like I just think there is a calculus, and part of why like there's a buyer's beware part of like legal tampering when you make a trade, man. Like, it's this stuff could happen, and so even if it is like 2%, 1%, whatever, however low percentage it is. But just a crazy, it's just a crazy thing to happen to the league.
It was crazy. I'm interested to see what his trade value, like what the Raiders do going forward. Do you try to now add back Max Crosby into all these different signings? And we'll get into that, trust me. Do you try to add Max Crosby back into this revamped defense with all these different signings, or do you turn around and try to still honor his trade requests and try to get something out of him? We would have to imagine at this point in time, his trade value is nowhere near than what it was even 5 days ago. Like, even the offers that were on the table for a first-round pick and second-round pick, like reported by the Cowboys, reported by the Bears, all the different stuff is just even value-wise isn't there. And then you add to the fact like all these teams went out and spent a whole bunch of different money anyways thinking he was off the market, is where it becomes a little tricky. I'm just interested to see if they end up keeping him or if they end up taking a lesser deal and just bite the bullet. And they're just like, yeah, he's a good player. We revamped the defense. We're happy to have you back if you're willing to come back. So I'm just interested to see what the next shoe to drop is for him. But.
Yeah, I have a hard time believing that he's on this roster going into training camp. Like, I have a really hard time believing that, just because there are going to be teams always dying to get his services, dying to add an edge rusher of his caliber. And I don't know who would it be. Like, would it be, would Philly be in the market with Phillips now leaving? Like, It's very similar compensation. You know, if you were willing to give it to Jalen Phillips, a guy who medically retired in college, yeah, I don't think they would be too scared off by an injury risk. You know, if the price
Well, that's the thing. I don't think
meets-
they were willing to give it to Jalen Phillips. That's why he left elsewhere. And rather, I mean, I think Phillips probably would have preferred to stay in Philadelphia, but they were not offering him $30 million a year. I don't know. But I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. I someone's always going to be dying for his services. Will that, you know, is there a deadline cutoff by the draft where it's like, by the draft, we want to add another pick? And if they want to, like, they can. You know, it was similar to it was similar to the AJ Brown 2022 where they couldn't get a contract done. I think they set a deadline by the draft of like, if we can't get it done, we want picks this year. I think the Raiders are similar in that boat, and we'll see if they make that decision.
Yeah, exactly. So we will see. It'll be interesting. Again, as you said, like just even in general, even taking like the Max Crosby out of it, there's just always gonna be a market for these high-end pass rushers. I mean, again, we saw it with Jalen Phillips. There were two other trades that we'll get into. Osa Digizua was traded to the Niners, the defensive tackle, for a third-round pick. I think it was pick 92. And then at like the very start of free agency, I think it was technically before the illegal tampering period started. Doesn't matter though. Rashawn Gary was traded to the Cowboys for a 2027 fourth-round pick. So there's just going to be a market based off of these players getting moved, these players getting traded. There's just someone will pull the trigger even despite the medical red flag. So I'll just be interested again. So someone will do it. It's just a matter of time. Interested to see what the compensation package looks like. I know the Bears were the team that was really most heavily linked to him. So I'll be interested to see if they pull the trigger, if they deem it worthy or not. And anything you want to say about those two other trades before we kind of get into signings or anything else?
No, I think Osa just became the odd man out in Dallas, you know, acquiring Kenny Clark in the Parsons deal. Clearly, like they could have cut him and saved $20 million against the cap. Clearly, they viewed him as an asset, you know, still to keep him around and trade Osa. But that one, and then the Cowboys have like no mid-round cap. They don't have the second. They don't have a third. This is a way to recoup some of that value back. And then Rashawn Gary, he was hacked. Sadly, he was hacked last, Friday or something. So good to see him get his account back. And
was
he
he
traded
hacked?
to the Cowboys? No. When he said the goodbye to Green Bay, and then they said he was hacked.
Oh, that's great. We'll see. So, and then there's one other like edge rusher that like maybe be on the move. Jonathan Grenard has been linked to like 10,000 other teams. Like basically any other team that was in on Max Crosby that didn't get Max Crosby is in on Jonathan Grenard. It's just a matter of, can the Vikings figure out the cap situation to keep him around and extend him to a long-term contract? We'll see if they can. I'm sure he'll stick around. I mean, that's the caliber of player you don't want to walk out the door, but also you want to get something for him if you can't re-sign him to another contract. So we'll see. Team is probably sniffing around, or there are teams sniffing around. We'll see if he gets traded. But like that's the last big kind of like trade as of right now that we know of. There will always be more as we get closer to the draft. It's just kind of the nature of the beast with free agency and the NFL offseason and all of that. I don't know, Matt, do you want to start out with the signings that we really loved or the signings that made us kind of itch our heads? So the steals and deals or the stinkers and
Let's
thinkers?
start positive.
All right, start positive. I'm all here for that. I have three. I have three in each category, but I'm sure we will ramble on even outside of those. those other ones here. So um, I will start. I think my favorite deal of the offseason, if I can find my notes, and this is like kind of surprising to me, but it was the value that they were able to get with Elijah Vera Tucker. The fact you were able to get someone that was once like a Pro Bowler and played at a very, very high level. He can play. I'm sure he can play all 5 spots along the Patriots, by the way. They signed him to 3 years, $42 million, 14 per, 12 million guaranteed. 12 million guaranteed is not correct. I apologize. 21 guaranteed. I loved it. He can play every single spot, as you said, upon the signing. I'd imagine that they're just going to slide him in between Jared Wilson, who will now be playing center now that Bradbury's in Chicago, and Will Campbell there on the left side. But the nice thing is this, again, this dude can play absolutely everywhere, and he can play everywhere at a very high level. If he needs to play tackle, he'll play tackle. If he needs to play guard, he will play guard. And you were able to get him on $14 million a year. That is a fantastic, fantastic, fantastic value. I loved it. The thing is the reason you were able to get it on that value is he's kind of always hurt. So it's just a matter of, can he stay healthy? If he can stay healthy, I think we're going to look back on this and be like, really? We're only playing Elijah Vera Tucker? $14 million? But I love the signing. What are your thoughts on the signing? What was your favorite signing?
Yeah, I mean, you calculated the risk perfect. Like, he's a very solid player when he plays, and there it is, when he plays. For him, just to I think they wanted to pencil in a left guard, and I think the Jared Wilson left guard experiment was kind of, how do we get our best 5? And, you have Garrett Bradbury at the time before the trade to Chicago. Like, that was your best 5, and now you're able to put Wilson more natural, Vera Tucker to guard, and then Campbell will stay at left tackle. But, yeah, I mean, his high-end play just a few years ago, what was it, 2024 for the Jets, was some of the best guard play in football. It was definitely above that threshold to be in that Pro Bowl conversation for guard, and then misses all of 2025. So again, you are really paying the tax on a player who's not played football in 2 years, and hoping he kind of figures that out next to 2 younger players. So again, like, it's just, there are question marks to go along with it. He's built very similar to Mike Onwenu at right guard, just big and burly, powerful movers. So I get why the fit came together.
Yes. So what was your favorite signing? Value-wise or fit-wise? Whatever way you calculate that, what was just the signing that just had you juiced?
My favorite signing.
I have 2 more. I could talk about my other 2 if you want time to think.
Yeah, I'm deciding. Do I want to go with, do I want to go with my center one? Do I want to go with a different position? I'll go with the center one. Cade Mays to the Lions at 25 mil. I think when you think of just the Lions' identity, just the powerful movers across that line of scrimmage, and how last season their plan at center was like, hey, maybe, hopefully Tate Ratledge could snap, and then he can't in training camp, and then they have to pivot to Graham Glasnow, and it's just, it's all downhill from beginning, with the Frank Ragnow retirement, and they even try and bring him back, and his hamstring is off his body, apparently. To pivot to Cade Mays, who with Carolina played some of the best center football when he was in there, just being able to be a powerful mover in those zone schemes, especially run blocking. I just think at the value of 3 years, $25 million, it gives you an opportunity to find the center of the future. while not sacrificing your window of trying to win now, and it gives you an actual solution in the short term while they still try to, keep this window open. Because even though they missed the playoffs, the Lions' window is still open. So we'll see.
Yeah, without a doubt. I agree. I loved it. I think we'll probably look back on that maybe even more than what we do on the Elijah Vera Tucker one and be like, yeah, that was great value. How were they able to get him for $10 million? Again, he's just he seems like a perfect scheme fit, a perfect culture fit within the Lions building. And again, you were able to get him for under $10 million per year. I think it was a great signing for them. The next signing for me is Nakobe Dean. He signed 3 years, $36 million, 12 per, 23 guaranteed to the Raiders. Getting a player the caliber of Nakobe Dean for $12 million that is going to lead your defense is I think fantastic value. And it's funny because I ended up pairing him up with his Georgia teammate Quay Walker. They had to get Nakobe Dean so Quay Walker could line up in the right spot. If you know, you know.
That was Tyndall. That was Tyndall.
Was it Tyndall? I swear that was Quay Walker.
Yeah.
I digress, but still, I think he's an excellent linebacker. He's the kind of guy, he's not going to blow you away with his athleticism, but he is so football smart and football intelligent and football savvy that he will always be in the right place at the right time. He's an excellent leader. He's a big piece of even the Eagles culture. I'm sure you went on Twitter and every Eagles fan was like, go off and be great, King. You're great. And I think that says a lot about a player when every single player from the team he's leaving and fans that he's leaving from are like, yeah, you got a good one. I just think he's a really good, solid piece to just be able to build the defense around. The big thing for him too is also health, which is kind of funny. He's been on and off injured, and I think that's probably why you were able to get his price tag down to $12 million as well. But I think that's an excellent, again, piece that you can really build a defense around, and he'll be a good signal caller for you for at least 3 years, if not longer. So I loved it and thought it was great value.
Yeah, I mean, you're picking all the guys that are swing injury risks. I get it. The upside of him is sniffing that above average linebacker range, and at 12 mil per, I think it's a pretty decent price. But again, you're coming off the knee injury a few years ago, so again, you're taking that risk with it. I think bringing him in next to Walker to have this kind of long rangy thumper in Walker, and Dean, who's kind of this smooth assassin, to kind of be in the right place and just do things the right way. Again, they lose a guy like Robert Spillane last year and bring in a guy like Nakobe Dean the next year. I know it's a different staff, but still, it speaks volumes that they were like, we gotta fill this out. We gotta fill this linebacker core out. So, I'm gonna stay on the linebackers. I'm gonna stay with the same amount of money. Tremaine Edmonds to the Giants to really set the tone of their second level defense. When you think about shifting from an aging Bobby Okereke to Edmonds. When Edmonds was in Chicago, I was pretty critical because he was being paid like he was a top 4 linebacker. Now he's being paid like he's a top 14 linebacker, which he is. So, again, I think you're getting proper assessed value for one of the more, I'm not going to sit here and, one of the more potential linebackers, look at the traits, blah, blah, blah. We already know what he is, but just as a downhill player in space, that is what Denard Wilson wants. When he went to Tennessee a few years ago, the first guy he acquired was trading for Ernest Jones. So you just think about that kind of identity in the spine of his defense. To get Edmonds at 3 years, 36, and not really, it doesn't stop you from a guy like Sonny Styles. It doesn't stop you from still adding to the spine of the defense, and it just makes you more stout there. and a much more rangier, especially in the run game. So I thought Edmonds signing at 12 per was just one of the easier signings to just be a fan of, because I know what you are, and now you're being properly valued in where I believe you are.
Yeah, well, and that's a big thing with him. It feels like wherever he's gone, like he's been a good, solid linebacker, but it seems like he's kind of just been overpaid wherever he's gone, and now he's at a price point that seems to be the exact point that he should be at. And again, I think it's perfect. It's a rebuilding defense, and I think it's good to have a guy with a lot of experience in there getting paid at a good, accurate market value contract for him. And I think he's, again, an important piece to try to get this defense right and trending in the right direction. So I liked him.
Another thing, he always had bad stink on me because, like, remember they traded away Roquan because they didn't want to pay him market value, and then they paid Edmonds market value for a worse player. Like that at the same position, like that. He always had the stink, and it's not against the player, but it was always one of those things that I was just so anti. Where it's like trading Max Crosby away and then paying Odafe Oweh market value. Like, just I get adding the pick, but like, let's keep the better player if you're just gonna pay the position market value.
Yeah, I liked it. I think you're right. And the Bears would have been better off just keeping Roquan Smith. But yes, I think he's in a good place, set up to hopefully succeed well. Moving on to like my final one, and it's kind of funny that he ends up like here in this range, and it's simply because of other signings that he ended up getting here. I like Romeo Doubs. He signed a 4-year, $68 million, 17 per. We don't know what his guarantees look like yet. Currently, it's listed at 0. I guarantee you, he does not have 0 guaranteed dollars. Paying $17 million for a player like Romeo Doubs, I think is good. I think it's accurate. And it'll segue kind of perfectly into the signings I wasn't too big of a fan on, but I would much prefer Romeo Doubs on $17 million than Alec Pierce on $28.5 million. And that's kind of why he just found himself here, and he's making like technically less money even than like Wan'Dale Robinson. Wan'Dale Robinson is making $500,000 more, so it's minuscule. But I just think in terms of what the market value was for all these other wide receivers on the market, I think that this was one of the better signings just because you were able to get him at a better contract and a better price compared to where everyone else was at. And maybe I'm just like higher on Romeo Doubs than like the average person, but I was just like a fan of Romeo Doubs, and honestly, I thought he was probably the best wide receiver on the market to begin with, and you got him for the 3rd best wide receiver contract. So of course you're going to find yourself as the best, or on one of my best signings list. So that's how he finds himself here as my 3rd best contract given out in free agency.
Yeah, I mean, Doubs was the best receiver for Green Bay this year. Specifically once Kraft went down, and even Kraft's a tight end. Just his man-to-man separation, I think, was the best. And again, with these receivers outside of Evans, and Pierce has the size, but he was never hitting the open market specifically. Doubs has size.
Locked him in his basement.
Yeah, Doubs has size to get enticed by in and out. Like both, you can line him up in the slot and put him out wide, and it just continues to build that, big basketball type receiver room because, Mac Hollins isn't going to lose his touches. Kayshon Moody's not going to lose his fade routes, and now you're just adding another guy in Doubs, and you can still add more. Right, like it still doesn't stop you, and I just like the Patriots being able to pivot from, Alec Pierce, like you said, at the price that he was, to a guy like Dobbs, who I think is more reliable in his role. Maybe not as explosive, but more reliable in his role.
The only thing I will say that scares me about Dobbs is like, is he a needle mover? Like, I think he is a good player. Don't get me wrong, but like, I don't know
how many receivers hitting free agencies are ever needle movers. That's my question then.
Yeah, that's true. That's fair. So that's that's a valid point. I don't know how to respond to that.
Yeah, I think it's like you said. I think just stirring up the holes of it all, and just being able to go into the draft with another receiver that we can reliably depend on after you cut Diggs, which seemed to always be the plan. Like, I wasn't surprised by that at all. There was a lot of surprise and pushback when that happened, but my final one, I'm just going to do a team because we're doing this on the fly. I just love what the Commanders have done. The Commanders are getting back to their roots, man.
Okay.
Instead of, really, I mean, they made the splash in a Odafe Oweh, but like last year they make the splash on Kinlaw, and it's kind of just a lot of plot signings here and there. This year they kind of got back into it and, drop a little, Leo Chenal. Like, out goes Bobby Wagner, in comes Leo Chenal. Out goes the edge room of Von Miller and whoever else, and now we're dropping a splash in Odafe Oweh and Caleb Von Chason. And even Charles Omenihu, who has signed since, I did this. In the back end, adding a pure nickel like Amik Robertson, who's just going to set the tone. No Igbenogany in Amik Robertson. And then Nick Cross, who is one of the more durable young safeties in football, to get him it's similar to a few years ago when the Rams got Cam Curl, like 2 for 14.
Yeah.
When the market is going, like Kobe Bryant's making 13, Byard's making 9. Who else? Brian Cook made 13, and Nick Cross is getting 7. Like, I just think that's where you find the little values. Like, you're getting the younger, more durable player. So I think everything that the Commanders have kind of went back to their roots. Let's just drop a ton of guys in here. Let's make a versatile, flexible defense once again with Dan Quinn, and sets them up pretty well to add an offensive playmaker here in the draft when Brandon Ayuk becomes available. Like, there's so many options for them on the offensive side of the ball, but just getting back to let's set ourselves up to be the 14th best defense again and let our offense be explosive.
Yep.
Where instead of being the 27th best defense. So I applaud that from the Commanders.
Yeah. I mean, I had a winners and losers tab for like a whole team list. I have 3 teams that I consider winners, and the Commanders were one of them, simply because of everything that you said. Like, you were able to just add like players that will slot in and just be fine, adequate starters across every level of your defense, along the offensive line, along the linebacker core, and in the secondary. And then you were probably able to upgrade at tight end as well with Chigakonkwo. So
you didn't pay Likely. Like, I don't see enough of a difference between Okonkwo and Likely to see, a whole, like, Likely gets 3 for 40 and Okonkwo gets 3 for 30. I just think their skill sets are the exact same. Maybe Likely's a little bit bigger, but they're the exact same player.
Yeah, exactly. So the Commanders were one of my teams that like did a really good job, like, in free agency. The 2 other ones for me in terms of just like winning teams, one was a team that like maybe had like shocked some people that they found themselves here, because I know people are kind of back and forth on them. For me, it's the Raiders. I think the Raiders are a winning team. Did you overpay for Tyler Linderbaum? Yes. I don't care. That's what it's going to cost to get good players. Exactly. It's like the money wasn't going to go anywhere else, and it's going to cost extra to get guys to come and play in Vegas because you are a bad team. So you signed a good player to an above market value, sure, but it was still a good player, and it was a great signing. As I said, you rebuild your linebacking room. You were able to get a decent wide receiver piece in Jalen Naylor. You were able to add a piece on the edge with Quinny Pay, who had a down year this year. The last 2 previous years were a little bit better. You're hoping you can get back to that. You're able to get Malcolm Kuntz as well, and then Eric Stokes. So you just made some very quality signings. Again, people are kind of negative on this class because of how much you paid Linderbaum. I'm glad to see, again, we're of the same mindset. I don't care. You signed a good player. That's mainly what it's going to be. And it's not like he has character concerns or major injury concerns or scheme fit concerns. You just paid him a little extra money than what he wanted, and that's the only gripe we have on him. I don't know. I loved it. I think they're setting themselves up nicely to build off of what was last year, which should hopefully be an easy thing to do because it was so atrocious, but you're just getting good quality players into the building. And that is what free agency is all about. And then for me, the other one was the Browns, just because your ability to revamp the interior of the offensive line. We were able to get Elton Jenkins and Zion both into the building. You paid kind of, the Browns tax on Zion Johnson there. I don't care. He's a good player. Jenkins was a guy at one point in time that was a Pro Bowler because he was a good center. And then you were able to replace what you got in Devin Bush with Quincy Williams. So, can you do the same thing that you did with Devin Bush with Quincy Williams and turn this kind of lower tier contract into a player that's going to outplay his contract? And Quincy Williams is one of those linebackers that I'm going to be willing to bet that he will. He had a down year on a very, very, very bad Jets defense. Now you're going to be playing behind one of the best edge rushers in the history of the game. I'm willing to bet that you're going to have a bounce back year on this, on what seems to be a very team-friendly contract. So then the Browns are that third and final team for me. Again, the Commanders, as you mentioned, the Raiders and the Browns are the 3 teams that stood out to me as just all winners. And then those 3 contracts. I don't know if there were any other teams that stood out to you as winners.
I'm interested in the Panthers. I don't know if I class them as a winner or a loser, but to see them go out and say, we're getting Jalen Phillips, and then to go out later in the day and say, we're getting Devin Lloyd. They're trying to find difference makers through free agency, and I'm interested in that because you just think about the star-level talent across their defense. There's a lot of good. I think J.C. Horn and Derek Brown are probably the closest things to those star difference-making players. You can throw on J.C. Horn, So Mike Jackson was a steal in free agency last year, but for them to go out and make the decision we're going to make Jalen Phillips the highest paid, defensive lineman of this class, and then at the same time make Devin Lloyd, also Devin Lloyd getting the same contract as Nick Bolton a year ago is just insane.
Yes.
I thought Lloyd would be pushing into the 50s $1 million of total. He didn't.
Yeah.
So again, I think that is a pretty good contract for him, but just the Panthers trying to find difference makers where sometimes I don't think most of us view free agency kind of that way. It's kind of just filling out and plugging up your gaps. I'm interested in the Titans again. Just let's name all the teams who spent all the money, right? Because that's what free agency is all about.
Yeah.
They're going to move Alontae Taylor outside. I can't imagine. You're not paying a nickel $19 million. That's just not happening. And he has the body type to play outside, so they're going to kick him outside. Cordell Flott gets $15 million annually. Okay. JFM is a really good player. He's an older player. Wan'Dale Robinson, it felt like the money just kept going down. At one point, I think it was 4 for 82. Now it's 4 for 70. So I guess, man, there's just a lot of okay, I guess, with the Titans and their free agency compared to someone like the Raiders. I see a plan in place with the Raiders where the Titans, I still want to drop like there's still a place to drop an edge rusher at the 4th overall pick, but they need offensive difference makers, like to put next to Cam Ward. So I'm really interested from that point of view. Like I would have really liked to see maybe you're double dipping too much there, but like JFM and then let's drop an OA on there, But that's kind of how free agency goes. Commanders were desperate to get a player like that. Then talking about like the quarterback market, unless you have any more winners.
No, not winners. Everything else is just going to be like a negative, like it's just a depressive spiral downwards from here on out.
let's save that. Let's kind of kick around some positions for a minute. Just talking about the Malik Willis. So he ends up going to the Dolphins. Again, it's kind of a markup on the Justin Fields deal a year ago. So I can't complain there. I think you're making a bet, and if the bet doesn't work, what's the worst thing that happens? Like not really much of anything. You're out. If they were
I'm trying to see what his guaranteed money is.
It's 45. The way it's structured is like, so he has a cap hit of 8.6 this year, and then just under 30 next year, and then at 2028 you can get out of it. Like most contracts are structured. But I'm just interested in the fit on the offensive side of the ball because I mean Slowick has never worked with a player like this on offense, and there's so many players on this offense that are just explosive and dynamic, and that would make more sense if like Mike McDaniel was still around. I get the name of the game is getting explosives, but it felt like there was a world where you could eat your medicine and let's tank, let's be really bad. And now they're kind of like, hey, let's be sneaky good. That's what the Malik Willis signing signs to me, because I do think he was good enough last year to warrant this contract, but this team, I don't want them to be good enough. Like I want them to be I want them to be watching Texas film. I want them to be sitting there and kind of let's really take this lump of cap hit from the Tua contract and move on, and we can find our quarterback later. Let's shore up everything else and find our quarterback later. But it's kind of a ready-made roster, I guess, if we want to put it that way. But what were your thoughts on the Willis deal?
Do you think it's a ready-made roster? I think there's a lot
for him specific, like for the offensive side of the ball. I do.
For the offensive side of the ball, I mean, I would like another wide receiver in there, but now we're just kind of we're nitpicking there a little bit. But I agree. I mean, it's a calculated play. Like you're not overpaying him. I mean, I think like my counterpoint would be like, would you prefer this contract or would you prefer 2 years, $88 million for Daniel Jones, right? That's tough. I mean, they're kind of unrelated, but I mean, when you look at elsewhere, I think this is a fine value. Again, it's an upside swing. You like what he showed, Malik Willis, in those like final couple games that he was able to play at the back end of the season. And if you can build on that, well, maybe you don't have to get Arch Manning. Maybe he is the quarterback of the future. We've seen it happen. We've seen it with Sam Darnold, right? That's my worry, though. Is like how many teams now are going to be like confident that they can just like find this guy that like might have been washed up on other teams, and we're like, well, they did it with Sam Darnold. Maybe we can do it now.
And that's part of my point of like, okay, we win 9 games. Malik Willis is really good. Well, now we have to re-up the extension. What's that extension look like? And now I'm paying the quarterback market value for maybe a quarterback that's not worth market value. I don't know what those games look like. And now you're kind of back at square one where you're paying the Tua deal. You're trying to get margins all across the roster while having a quarterback under a, $35-ish million cap hit. Like, that's hard to do. So I thought there was a world where this team could kind of take it easy if that makes sense, because I think anything that builds off the Malik Willis deal just gets more and more expensive. But we'll see. We'll see.
Unless he's bad, but now you're paying a bad quarterback $22 million a year. So it's a really weird place to be in if you're the Dolphins. I think it's a fine contract. I would.
Yeah, it's not pushing 30. Like it wasn't.
Yeah.
There were some.
There were some outrageous numbers people were throwing out there.
Yeah.
But I would have. I mean, I'm kind of in the same boat as you at the end of the day, though. Like, just I don't know, run it with Quinn and see what we can do for a year with Quinn, and then draft someone. I think it's a fine contract. Again, I think you put yourself in a weird predicament moving forward, because if he's good, you're paying him a lot of money, and if he's bad, you're paying this negative asset $22 million. As you said, you can get out of it, but it's still $22 million you would have loved to use elsewhere, especially on a cornerback. I digress. The Tua stuff. Tua, he's a Falcon on a league minimum deal. So, like, on one hand, on the Falcon side of it, I'm like, that's great value, because, like, Tua's a fine quarterback when he's not, like, and I hate to put it this way, but this is the only way that I can put it. Like, I think he's a fine quarterback when he's, like, kept up and healthy and not getting concussed. So if you're getting like a good Tua, getting him on a league minimum contract is a fantastic deal. But now, what does your quarterback room look like? Right? You have a hurt Michael Penix. You have a Tua that is one concussion away from retiring from football. And like maybe I don't know, what is his Kirk Cousins situation looking like? Like, I would have thought for sure he would have been like released now at this point, but somehow he is still on the roster.
No, he's cut. He's cut.
Is he still cut? I thought he was still on the roster.
Yeah, he's cut.
Okay, but now you still, regardless, you still have a very weird quarterback team. It shows up that he's still on the Falcons roster. Oh, no, he was released 5 hours ago. There it is. June 1st cut. Save a little bit of money. I digress. You still have a really wonky quarterback room that has a lot of areas to, like, go south very, very quickly. What do you think of, like, just simply the value of getting two on a league minimum? Would you prefer that, or would you have preferred Kyler on whatever contract he's going to get with the Vikings?
Kyler on the minimum. I was going to get the minimum with Minnesota. Let's move on. The Tua thing, like, I don't want this to sound insensitive, but like, why is he jumping back into this? Like, genuinely, like, since this guy got to the NFL, it's been a whirlwind for him with the Flores thing, and then immediately into the concussion thing, and then he gets the contract, and then he can't play in the cold. Like, this guy's gonna get $50 million from the Dolphins, like, and to jump right back into it with Atlanta. I would have taken the year if I was him, personally.
Yeah.
Like, I would have liked to see him kind of step away from the game. Maybe not for good, but just step away, take a step back, take a deep breath. We, like, kind of just unwind. But he jumps right back into it from a fit perspective with the Falcons, building the Leftorium from Simpsons, with him and Penix. But I just don't think this shows zero confidence in Penix, which why should there be? Like, again, I think this is just Stefanski assessing the room that he has and assessing the situation that he has, and go from there. Like, again, it's the same thing as when Sean Payton takes the Broncos job a few years ago. My job is to fix the Broncos, not fix Russell Wilson. And Kevin Stefanski said the same thing about Michael Penix and the Falcons. Yeah. Like, I think that's the plan. We'll see how it goes. We'll see what the training camp entails. It's going. You have a guy like Tua to push him. Inevitably, Michael Penix wins the job, and Tua's a minimum backup who can start games. Like, I think that's how this ends up, and that's my point with the Tua thing. Is like, why do we jump into this? Like, what's the point in truly jumping into this again?
Take a year to rest.
But yeah. Outside of that, the backup quarterback market, robust.
Well, Daniel Jones. How do we feel about 2 years, 88?
It's whatever, right? Again, I don't like it. You don't like it. Nobody likes it, right? Like I don't think anybody's going to like it, but they had to do it, because you just think about Chris Ballard and like they need any clarity at the position. And they feel like in those 10 games they had clarity, right? Except now, like, the variables change. Like, Kirk Cousins couldn't hand off his, like, Achilles plant foot the year after, like, on run plays. That's why everything was in the pistol when Cousins first got there. Like, he can't plant off of it. So, again, Jones, who adds this element of the run game, is rehabbing to push to play week 1, by the way. That's a report. I don't like it at all. But what else were they going to do? Everybody keeps saying, well, like, what if they signed Kyler on the minimum? Like, yeah, me too. But Kyler's signing anywhere on the minimum. So he gets to pick where he goes. Why would he pick the Colts over the Vikings? Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, this team wasn't going to go out and get Malik Willis, who's a mystery box. They're going to go out and get Kirk Cousins. Like, there was just no other option. And clearly there's this connection with him and Pierce. Like, Pierce wanted to play with him. And when it was really, really good, Jones was pushing the ball down the field. He wasn't taking sacks. Again, maybe it's an outlier year, but they did see it. So they're paying off something they saw, and hope it works out for him, right? Like, that's all you can say at this point. Like, I get the rationale, but I cannot like it. And I think that's
I'm happy it's a 2-year contract, though, right? Like, because you could have very easily signed for like a cheaper, let's say $35 million over the course of 4 years. Or 3
you could have played him out on the tag.
Yeah. But that's the one thing that confuses me about this whole situation is why put him on a tender if you're then going to pay him $44 million? Because I don't think any other team in the NFL was going to pay him $44 million. So what's the point of putting a second round tender on this guy where you have the opportunity to match a contract? Because I don't think there was any other team that said, you know what, we're going to pay you $44 million, Colts, we're going to make you match that. Because it wouldn't have been worth the risk for anyone to even think about paying Daniel Jones $44 million. And that's my big thing is like, I can't imagine that there was a market for him to make that much money. So why couldn't the Colts have paid him for $30 million? So on and so forth. I don't know, but it's an ugly deal. I'm glad it's 2 years because it will make getting out of it easier if you have to get out of it. Hopefully you don't. Hopefully it's what you saw for the first 10 games. And
another thing is they don't have a pick. So like they have to be good. There's no pivot.
Yeah.
We're not gonna, we're not gonna put Anthony Richardson back there with an eye patch on. Like it's what it is, right? I think we all have the same thought, where it's like this is weird. I don't like that. But at the same time, the Colts are probably throwing their hands up, going, "What the hell do you want us to do then?" Like, there's really no pivot we can go. There's really no other avenue we can go down. You want us to trade for Geno Smith, who's one of the more combustible elements in football? Like, probably
the Jets
not.
did it though.
They're trying to be bad, right?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Speaking of the Jets, their front seven, what they're building. What are they building in there?
It's weird.
There's a lot of good players. Osai's a good player. Enikbare is a good player. DeMario is a good player. Like I like what they're building, and then they have their corners.
Player.
Yeah, they have their corners. Azaria Thomas and Brandon Stevens, just big physical maulers at corner. Just interested in that. Could we see a defense be a little bit better than last year?
I mean, you were able to get Minka regardless of what he is at this point in his career. I mean, you were able to get him for a 7th round pick. I mean, the big thing for him is a contract.
They gave him a deal too, right?
Yeah. But like, you're able to get him for next to nothing in terms of like trade value wise. Obviously, you're going to be paying him a little bit, but like they're trying to build the defense. I mean, that's why you keep Aaron Glenn around, or no, but so I don't know. It's interesting.
Yeah, interesting. I'm interested in what they're doing. I just, again, looking at some of these things. Can we talk about your team for a minute?
Yeah, so they were actually like one of the teams that made it on like the bad list.
Really?
Like, the list of like
I love the Woolen signing.
I love the Woolen signing. Do you want to know what I don't love? I don't love our edge room. I don't love the fact that we lost Nakobe Dean. I love the fact that we didn't give Reed Blankenship $7 million, and our starting safeties are going to be.
I'm going to eye roll both of those. Okay,
it's a blind
the 2025 draft. Like Jahad Campbell and Makuba were clear replacements to those players. You know what I'm saying?
Okay,
this was always the plan to lose those players.
Who's the opposite safety from him? The blind missile that is Sidney Brown. Like there's just not that's the big thing. Like I love Andrew. I love Makuba. I would have loved to do Drew Makuba and Reed next to each other. That would have been great. Because I do not trust Sidney Brown hanging back there. I agree with Jahad Campbell for the most part. Like, Jahad Campbell was great when he played. Like, for the first 7 weeks of the season, he was like DROY conversation. And then
there would be a Brisker on the way?
That's the hope. That is the hope.
Because I'm just looking at names.
Yeah. I mean, that's the hope. The scary thing is like right when we hit like record for this podcast, and it's like kind of what you knew going into selecting Jahad Campbell at 31. He fell to 31 for a reason. Is that like Vic like had a press conference and was like, yeah, so Jahad Campbell's gonna miss majority of training camp, if not all of training camp, due to shoulder injury. Where did that come from? What happened with that? Like, nice. So it's just it's scary, and the edge room still scares me.
That's why he went 31.
Yeah, well, and exactly. You knew what you were getting into when you drafted him. I do love the Woolen signing. You got him for $15 million. He's a perfect fit for like the Vic Fangio defense. Like, there's not really a better cornerback for that defense than Tyreek Woolen. Yeah. It's just a matter of like which Tyreek Woolen are you getting? Are you getting like the Tyreek Woolen that's like locked in?
Who cares? Like that's my point is who cares? Like anything from Tyreek Woolen is better than what Adoree Jackson or whatever Keely Ringo was giving you last year. Like,
yeah,
I think just from a fit thing, like the off zone, long, lengthy, can run with you corner, like just throw him in palms, man, and we'll figure it out, dude. Like opposite side of Quinyon Mitchell, I think it's one of the better signings of the week, just from that perspective. And what corner two is not gonna piss you off more than Wool? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like any of these guys who got signed.
I liked the signing. That's the thing. There's just a lot of players that are leaving on the back end that scare me that like we need to figure out replacements for. Again, I want to stay quiet. I said to you before, like this is just how he does. And like I have the utmost confidence he will figure it out. Like he has earned this leeway and trust and blind trust. Like there were reports today, which is like really funny, that like he's talking to Grenard and his agent, but like he's not talking to the Vikings, which like sure. But regardless, like if you could get Grenard for a third, like that very quickly makes you feel very happy. You were able to get Jordan Davis on a good contract. You were able to keep AJ Brown in the building. You didn't falter off of what you were asking for, which I appreciate.
That Davis contract is fascinating, dude.
Yeah. I mean, the highest paid nose tackle in the history of the NFL. That is
so much for like.
It's a boatload of money.
Yeah, but it's again, it makes sense from the whole. Yeah. We're both going to say the same thing.
Exactly. He allows you to do so much else everywhere on the defensive side of the football that it just you have to do
You
it.
think Nick Emmanwori keeps you in nickel? Like, what a nose tackle who can rush the passer. That's what keeps you in nickel, and that's what he's.
Well, I also think that's. Well, whenever we do our next mock, I'll talk about it more, but I also think they're pretty like honed in on Warren at 23 at this point, because like everything is playing towards that direction. And I know like you need help elsewhere, sure, but it really makes me hard to believe that like you had to
think they're taking anything but offensive line?
Yes. Because you had to do everything to convince Vic Fangio to not retire. Like he was on his way out to ready, and he was ready to like hang it up and be like, all right, like I'm too old for this. Like I'm out of here. And they had to pull a lot of strings to keep him in the building. I am hard pressed to not like, unless like Kenyon Sadiq falls to us or like this can't miss offensive guy falls to us. I think that they will go defense and they will get Vic a shiny toy because he stayed like with the Eagles. I digress, but like it's I don't know. I will say like it's one of my bad signings, so this is great and we can talk to it. Like as much as I can like be angry that we don't have an edge rusher, I'm really glad we didn't play Jalen Phillips $30 million a year for the next 4 years and give him $80 million guaranteed. That is absolutely ridiculous. I love Jalen Phillips, but now he's making top 10 edge money, and he maybe plays like a top 10 edge on a good day, but now he's had 2 season-ending injuries.
Yeah, they're paying the back half of the Philly. They're paying the Philly tax, like what he was in Philly to end his season. That's what you're gambling on.
Yes, exactly, but. And really quickly on Woolen, and then we can finish up with the Eagles unless you have any other points. The thing that makes me like really happy about the Woolen signing is now you can have a really cool trio nickname, like the Eagles. This is the important stuff here. We cover the important stuff on this podcast.
All right, let's see. Let's hear it.
The Eagles fans have already came up with the best nickname for this trio of Woolen, Mitchell, and DeJean, and it's weapons of mass deflection. The W for Woolen, the M for mass for Mitchell, and the D for DeJean. Weapons of mass deflection. That's great.
Cornballs.
That is fantastic. Are you kidding me? The weapons of mass deflection.
No.
It doesn't get better than that.
I'm not sitting here and no. Nothing from me. Nothing from
That's
me.
the best. That's the best part. But and this works out perfectly. I'm so happy you asked me about my team because one of the other teams, the Broncos were like my third like bad team simply because they just like, didn't do anything, which is funny because like the teams that had a lot of money and did stuff were like good job, and the teams that didn't have a lot of money and didn't do anything were like, so that's how the Broncos ended up there. But that's all you need to know. The last and final team were the Saints, and it wasn't because they didn't do anything, but it's because they like paid way too much for people. And like, what are your thoughts? Because like. Paying David Edwards what you're paying David Edwards, $15 million for the next 4 years is a lot of money. Paying ETN 4 years, $52 million is a lot of money.
You just said Elijah Vera Tucker was a win at the same price. David Edwards is much more.
David Edwards.
David Edwards is much more stable and on the football field. We're not. Listen. We're doing the gaps and make. Okay. Then there's our difference.
Elijah Tucker is like top of the interior offensive line player when he is at his peak. David Edwards has not like he's not.
So wait. You don't like the Phillips deal because of the injury concerns, but the Vera Tucker is a plus.
It's good value
because of the ceiling from the injury concerns.
You got good value off of Vera Tucker though. You're paying
then what is Edwards paying market value for stability? Isn't
stability, that's fine, but
you're calling it bad. That's what I'm saying.
I think we approach free agency differently. I want swings. Like, go and make your team good. Given the Saints are probably not in a position where they can be making swings, and I understand it from that point of view. But, like, I want a swing and a calculated swing. I don't think Jalen Phillips is a calculated swing. You're paying him above market value for a hurt player. Elijah Vera Tucker, you're paying below market value or at market value for a calculated swing. David Edwards is fine. $15 million seems like a lot for David Edwards, though. That's my big – it just seems like that's an overpay for David Edwards. That's my point for him.
It's a markup on the Damian Lewis contract that he signed with Carolina a few years ago. And Damian Lewis has been one of the better left guards in football. Like, that's what it is. Can you just get stability out of your left guard after consistent seasons of, is Trevor Penning going to play there? Or is Dylan Radunz going to play there? Like, it's just been a lot of mystery. And
sure,
if you came in here and said it's because he's a 30-year-old guard who's on his third contract, I could get on board. But being anti-stability at guard, that's where I'm going to
it's not anti-stability. It's not anti-stability. Like, it's fine. Again, it seems like a lot of money to be paying David Edwards, though. Is the point that, like, I am reaching. What is the final value? What did Zion Johnson make? Would you have preferred Zion more?
No.
Hold on. 15 compared to Zion. Hold on. He's making $1 million more. I would have preferred Zion Johnson. He's the younger player, and I think he has a higher upside. But that shows the different approach that we have, which is fine. That shows, again, the different approach that we have to free agency. I understand it as a Saints fan and having to watch Cesar Ruiz and whoever else at guard. From an outside perspective, it's easy for me to be like poo-poo. But from your perspective, for someone who has to watch this team, like, we don't have a fine offensive line. I understand why you could like the signing. Again, we approach it differently philosophically. I get it.
Why do you like Zion Johnson more than he's just young?
He's younger, and I think he has a better upside. But
okay.
So did you like the moves? Did you like the Saints move? And piggyback off of that, Travis Etienne. He was the other reason that we made this list. I was higher, like in air quotes, on the Etienne move than you were. I know you weren't like the biggest fan of that move.
Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. I don't love that other running backs who seem very comparable to him this past season, such as like Javonte and Rico Dowdle are getting much less than him. But you're paying for the explosive element, right? And he's much more stable than someone like Kenny Walker is down to down. So I'll give him that. But I think you're trying to microwave a run game in free agency. Get the running back who has an explosive track record. 2 years ago, it was really bad, but he's never played in an offensive line quite like this. This might be his best offensive line. Just like when you think about 4 out of the 5 spots are very power, move you at you element. So, but yeah, I'm interested to see it. I think it's fun. Fun to sign a skill position player, right? It's fun to. The Noah Fant thing doesn't surprise me. Again, they visited him last year when he was a free agent and he picked Cincinnati, and then Caden Ellis, I think, very similar to, DeMario in the sense of like what you can do as a blitzer and lining him up in the mug looks, and you just get 5 years younger. So and he knows the area. He doesn't know the scheme. Like, the scheme is different. Like, Dennis Allen is gone. But I think from that perspective, you're kind of just swapping out the older player for the younger player. Does it work out? Maybe, maybe not.
Yeah. So my follow-up question to this, and I know the answer, but I don't know if everyone who doesn't follow the Saints or has a close friend that is a Saints fan. And then after this, by the way, we do have our third guy who ended up making it in, despite all of the things that, despite his apartment flooding. He is in the room, so he will be joining us. But for everyone who doesn't follow the Saints or does not have a very close friend that is a Saints fan, what does the Travis Etienne signing signify for Alvin Kamara?
I don't know. He's not going to play football in 2027. I know that for sure. I think it makes him expendable if that were to be the case. I think it makes a possibility for him to be a retirement candidate. I think from everything they did in terms of restructuring, I think it made it to where, the way they guaranteed his money in a unique way to get his cap hit down, but didn't guarantee all the money. It's interesting. I think there's a world where Alvin Kamara is not playing football in 2026, but I think the ETN thing. Listen, no move the Saints made was with the interest of Alvin Kamara being a contributor to this football team.
Yeah.
Just that simple. He's a bad player. Like in 2026, he's a bad player.
Hey, the Christmas game. Hey, it's funny for those who watch football, but maybe not like other sports. Like that's when people say how would you compare the Bam Adebayo 83-point game to like football terms? It's like the Alvin Kamara Christmas game. Like that's what that Bam Adebayo 83 points was last night. So like Alvin Kamara, he was a fun player to watch, but yeah, he'll be off drinking.
It means more to me than you.
Yes. Yeah. He'll be off drinking. What do you say? A margarita on a beach or pina colada, something like that on the beach somewhere in 2027, living his best life, going down knowing that he made, the life of young Saints fans at least more stomachable than what it would have been otherwise. So, but Ryan's here. Ryan. How you doing?
Hello. How's it going, gentlemen? God, dude, what has it been, like 2 months? I remember the Bears were good when I was on here last. That was crazy. The season was still going. Yeah, I don't know. Important stuff you guys are covering, and I was like, it's been a long day. I don't know. We'll figure out something to be a part of this for at least a little bit. I don't know. What haven't we gone over in the hour and 13 minutes?
What do you want to go over?
We've covered probably everything that we wanted to get to. So what do you want to go over?
I mean, it would.
You know what? I'll make it easy. I'll make it easy for you. First off, what are our thoughts on the Matt Crosby decision, and what do you want the Bears to do?
Decision, as in,
but
the
happenings, the Ravens' decision to maybe not move forward with him. The happenings. Do you want the Bears to maybe trade for him still?
Yeah. Let me make a preface.
The whole situation?
Let me preface this before I start. The Ryan that you guys will get in the future is very different from the Ryan that you guys have seen in the past. I am going to lean heavily into a fan side instead of an analyst side from here on out, and we're here to have fun, and that's what's going to be awesome about it. So, with that being said, I'm going to introduce myself in a way of my one talking point about this, and some are calling it a conspiracy. I think it legitimately happened. I think they used it to kind of hedge their negotiations on Trey Hendrickson. I think that they were legitimately in negotiations with Trey Hendrickson, and keep in mind, by the way, I have no sources, so like nobody's telling me this. But like my thing is like, I think that they wanted Trey Hendrickson. They were in negotiations for Trey Hendrickson, understood that there was a market for Trey Hendrickson, knew that there was a market after checking in on the price tag for Max Crosby, paid that price tag, but wanted Trey Hendrickson at a lesser price, and ended up getting him for that, waiting to, go ahead and let's not announce this until tomorrow morning because people will freak out. And it's like, all right, well, people are going to freak out anyway. Let's announce it at 8 a.m. for what? So, okay, that's cool. Let's go ahead and do that. So they went, did that. Let's sign the Trey Hendrickson deal. Everything's all good. I think that's what happened. I genuinely do. And when it comes to Max Crosby, I think it's disappointing in a sense of I think he legitimately could be I think it's probably more likely than not that he'll be playing for Vegas next season. And that really sucks.
It's funny because he literally just posted like 30 seconds ago a post of him. I think it's The Undertaker. I don't know. I'm not big into wrestling here, guys. But like a gif of The Undertaker on Twitter, and he's like, everything happens for a reason, believe nothing you hear, and half of what you see. I'm a Raider, I'm running it back. Let's run this back. So it looks like he
here's the thing.
Fernando
it's not up to
needs
him.
a guard in the draft, dude. Like,
it's not up to him. He doesn't have a no trade clause. Like, he could very well be a Bear in the next 48 hours. Like, who knows? I think he'll be a Raider, which is just not as exciting as what would have, from a football fan's perspective, if he was a Raven. And that's kind of what's bumming me out. It's also weird that the trickle effect that they were talking about, like throughout NFL media, for the entire day, like who steps out of what contract, and the crazy evident as far as why he's going to be a Raider. You didn't see much. Like, it didn't necessarily affect the deals that already happened yet. So with that being said, it's like, what's going to happen? Did the price change? You have Caleb Williams commenting weird things on the Trey Hendrickson post. Like, it's going to be interesting. But regardless, there's a draft that's happening in a little bit over a month, and if you need D-line depth, from what I hear, keep in mind, not really doing too much research on it this year. It's just, I don't know. There's plenty of room for that. And if you're a team with 3 picks in the top 2 rounds, might be in good shape. But I don't know. Regarding Max Crosby, that's kind of where my head's at with it. It's kind of disappointing. But yeah, I don't want to talk in circles too long. I do want to. Are we like pretty much done with free agency? Are you guys like did you hit on everything? Yeah,
we done most of it.
Never done, you said? Okay. I kind of want to selfishly say, like, it sucks that I've been gone for a while. I do miss this a lot. There's been a lot changing in my life. I don't know exactly how much the guys have really told everybody as far as, an audience that we have. It's been very long. I'll just throw it all out there. I was prepping for a pretty important exam that was going to land me a new job. I passed the exam. It just took me more attempts than I had thought, and it took several weeks. And with that being said, like, now that I'm finally hired on and brought on at this new job, completely different career change for me. So it's really weird to handle mentally. So going through that, also schedule changes is really, really weird, to where I'm probably going to bed within 30 minutes. So that's odd for me. And with that being said, I'm just trying to kind of adjust to it, and I'm hoping that I can be here more and more. I have not really done too much research on the draft, and that's probably why you haven't seen me posting very much about it, let alone being a part of any podcast that has to do with scouting, because luckily for, myself and the awesome podcast, I have 2 best friends that are stellar when it comes to, scouting these prospects and putting out the content for you guys, so that if there was somebody, without naming names, that couldn't contribute as well as other people, I'm talking about myself.
He's talking about you.
Why
Matt.
add that to the show?
You don't know anything.
You
about
bum.
Matt.
So yeah, my philosophy has not only been to get my mind right before going in here, but also to contribute to the show in a positive way. I think free agency is kind of probably something I should have done, but
you can't control that your house flooded.
it's a pretty crappy situation. Yeah, but it's not fun.
Yeah.
So we'll see where this goes. Might be a completely different backdrop next time that you guys see me. But who knows? I mean, it's going to be interesting. Now, the next thing that I will say is, because I will not be a part of scouting, this is my own decision. It's not theirs. They've wanted me on the show. The guys have wanted me on the show. I cannot stress it enough. They are my best friends. There's nothing behind the scenes going on other than your boy needs to get his mind right. So I will leave that to them, and probably the next time you guys will see me will be the pre-draft show, where I will give probably the most boneheaded, crazy, stupid, casual fan takes. But that's what we're here for. So
Yes.
my goal is to bring a casual fan perspective into an educated fan perspective when we go into the draft preview, so that we can maybe answer some questions that casual fans might have before the draft. And then from there, you guys will probably see more of me, because hopefully by then my creative juices will be flowing. So, without further ado, I'll let the guys take over their show that, they've steered the ship for several months at this point. But the Bears are good again. Vibes are high. Crazy stuff, man. I should have been a part of that. It's just crazy that I wasn't. But, what can you do? The Bears are going to be good for a long time now. We got a quarterback. That's all that matters.
Yeah. Nice. That's Ryan. So that's the thing. So I don't know if you had anything else, Matt, but like there's one final thing that I kind of want to talk about again. I think it's important to note this is Wednesday. We're 3 days into free agency. Because of that, there's still like a lot of very good free agents left. Who do you think is, like, in your opinion, just like the guy that you were shocked has not signed somewhere else at this point? Obviously some guys are purposely
Rasheed
waiting.
Walker.
Okay, good. That's where it's for me. It's Rasheed Walker and Juwan Jennings. I'm shocked that either of those guys haven't signed somewhere, especially Rasheed Walker. You think just the need for offensive tackles around the league? Cough, the Bears, even just like on a short-term deal, like just someone that just
Well, that's
needs...
the holdup. He wants the Dan Moore contract.
buddy.
I'm just.
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying, and that's why like those contracts are always so tough, right? Because like at the time of even the Dan Moore contract, we're like, what is this garbage contract? And now there are going to be players that like use that as their like bar, and it's like, okay, this is what our bar is because someone went out and made that contract last year, knowing 31 other teams in the NFL would not have made that contract. And it's like tough. So I don't know.
I think the coolest part about specifically the timing of the podcast, but like going forward and probably stuff that you guys will cover next week, is given the fact that it's a brand new league year, there's a lot of new free agents that are available now that weren't available at the start of the week. And there's going to be a lot more breaking news, I would assume, tomorrow, because you've had less than 24 hours. Actually, I mean, 6 hours to negotiate, or I'm sorry, 7 hours to negotiate with these people. You know what I mean? Like, you're probably going to see a lot more deals lining up, tomorrow. And that's the exciting part about it. And I know you guys hit on it before, but like, the Kyler deal, you know what I mean? Like, he's probably going to be a Viking, but it's still going to be breaking news, and that's going to be exciting to talk about. And I don't know, but when it boils down to free agents that I'm surprised that I have not been signed yet. I mean, you guys are, and if he's an Eagle, that's exciting in its own right. Jaquan Brisker, that's mine. He's young, he's quick, he hits hard. I know that he's, he can kind of get hurt from time to time. I know that more than more than anybody else. But my thing is like, because of that and what seems to be a very weak safety market in terms of actual price tag, I'm surprised nobody's jumped on him for maybe a cheap, 1 or 2 year prove it deal. And then, maybe we'll extend you and give you a, pay raise or something like that. Cause the dude could play, but I don't know. I also wouldn't mind bringing him back. Something else.
I bet not. Yeah. I mean, the Bears, the big thing with the Bears is you let Brisker go, or not Brisker, Byard signed elsewhere, $9 million 1 year with the Patriots. Now you have two holes. Like, as much as I can stress about like the Eagles and what's happening at the safety position, at least you prepped yourself. You prepared yourself, as Matt had said, right? You drafted Drew Makuba in the second round. You knew it was coming. What are the Bears doing? Because now you have two open safety positions with
Kobe Bryant.
I forgot you guys said Kobe Bryant. There you go. There's so many.
I mean, one of them. Yeah. There's still the other position that still needs filled. So to your point, yes, there is still a hole, and that's why I'm saying, like, bring him back. Like, what's a 1 year, like $6 million deal doing? Because that's probably what his market's going to be. If not, maybe less. You're thinking maybe 4 to 5 mil. Like, this guy. He's. I think he could still make some noise. And
what did Jalen Thompson make?
11.
11 per.
Mm-hmm.
So that's probably what Brisker wants. Would be my
wants and will get are two different things.
Well, I think that probably plays into 3 years, $33 million, 22 guaranteed. Great for him. Mm-hmm. That's probably the holdup, and that probably explains a lot about as to why he has not signed elsewhere. I guess at this point in time is because he's like, Jalen Thomas just made $11 million, and I think I'm a better safety than him, which we'll see. Can you stay on the field? But that probably makes sense. I'll be interested to see what his contract looks like. So,
yeah, just another interesting player. Matt, what do you think?
About what?
Just anything else to add to the, like, they've been available since Monday.
I mean,
anybody released this week or like today that you're excited to find out where they go?
No.
Yeah.
I mean,
don't
like,
exactly.
We know where Kyler's going. Like,
we know he's
NFC North, man. Oh my God, the quarterback room.
Kirk's gonna go be a backup somewhere. Like, those are really the guys that.
I think Kirk takes like a Tannehill route and sits until he finds the right job, which Tannehill still hasn't done. But my thing is like,
he retired.
Yeah, my thing is like for Kirk, what's the rush? Like, you just got paid crazy amounts from Atlanta. Like, what's the rush to find a new job?
Yeah,
somebody's gonna go down. I mean, Joe Flacco was on how many different teams last season? Like, I mean, like at some point in time, somebody's gonna need somebody cheap, and Kirk Cousins will step into that role at he'll step into that role.
Kirk Cousins will be the starting quarterback for the Steelers at some point this coming season. This is the Mike Tomlin way. This is the Mike Tomlin way. So
hey, is there smoke behind the David Njoku stuff to Philly?
Yeah, well, of course. Yeah, I mean,
so cool.
It's the Dallas Goedert stuff is really interesting because he has a whole bunch of void years, so technically he's not a free agent. So like,
but that's like not how it works. Like Cam Jordan and Taysom Hill's contract voided today. Like, I don't know how they were able to do that. To be honest.
Yeah, it's a weird situation. The void year still continues to be like this.
It must be something with the third league day of the league.
Yeah. But so technically he doesn't become a free agent until Friday. So they have until Friday before he technically becomes a free agent. I would imagine Howie's doing everything in his power to keep Dallas Goedert in the building simply because you saved $20 million keeping him in the building because of all of the void years he has tacked onto this contract. So I'd imagine Howie's not, but like that's who I kind of always thought that the Eagles, like the plan at the tight end is going to be. If you can't get Goddard back in the building, it's going to be David Njoku and then like Michael Trigg in the third round. And we'll piece it together. We'll figure it out from there. I don't know.
So another person that I'm pretty surprised has not been signed yet. And I know that he was injured a lot, like on and off the injury report for the entire season. Jauan Jennings, dude. I mean, there's a lot of wide receiver needy teams. I mean, Alec Pierce signed for how much? You know what I mean? Like, I'm surprised somebody like New England hasn't taken a flyer on a guy like Jauan Jennings, who I know is up there in age a little bit. Like I said, on and off the IR, but like, why not? Why not?
Do you have a team?
I'm the only one that comes to mind right now is like New England.
But New England just signed Dobbs.
Which fine signing. I don't want to poo-poo on them for that, but like, I'm just saying, okay, prior to Dobbs, one would assume that he would have gotten something similar, if not a little bit cheaper given his age. Like, why wouldn't you bounce to that option? You know what I mean? Or I know Tennessee just got Wan'Dale Robinson, but like, who else do they have? Like,
That's fair.
I don't know.
The fourth,
like, well, right, and I mean, they could be going after, Tate from OSU. Like, that's a possibility. You know what I mean? I get it, but I'm just thinking, like, I mean,
someone has to
have
sign
a market. Yes, he's not going to be a free
yeah.
agent going into week one. No,
No, yeah.
Um,
I mean, I know they signed Naylor. I'm interested now, like, what are the Raiders going to do? Because I'd have to imagine that they were going to add either an offensive line or a wide receiver at pick 14, whatever fell to them. Now you don't have pick 14. So what do you do? Like, if you have the cap space, like Jalen Naylor's not going to stop you from signing Jauan Jennings if you are comfortable with that signing and you think he's going to add something to that. I could see them being the team that pulls the trigger. We'll see. I don't know, because you just need different makers on the outside.
I know they just traded for DJ Moore, but Buffalo?
Maybe.
I mean, Jauan Jennings and DJ Moore is a significant upgrade over what you had in 2025. If you want to give, Josh Allen maybe a cheaper target, I guarantee you that Jauan Jennings would sign for like $7 million on a 1-year deal, considering he's going to be 32.
I don't know. Well, that's the thing. He's going to be 32. I don't know if he's signing a 1-year contract.
He made 5 last season, and I think it was a 1-year deal. My thing is
this is cash in year.
I think he performed enough to where it's like he deserves a little bit of a bump, but it's like also at the same time, like, yes, he is going to be a little bit older. However, it's a 1-year deal. You take a flyer on the guy. It's an upgrade. It's not Keon Coleman. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Just where my mind goes. I mean, I don't know. Cleveland. I mean, I wouldn't go there if I was Jauan Jennings, but like Cleveland, I know they got Jerry Jeudy, but again, who else? Like,
Sanders.
If you want to see
Tampa Bay.
Yes, be down there somewhere.
Like, it's Tampa Bay. That would be the team, just because the 1-for-1.
You just lost
Mike.
Mike.
Losing Evans.
Yeah,
but
I
don't know. Again, that's why I asked, because again, you have to take into account that the guy wants to fight everybody every play. Like, there is this level of we have to manage this attitude, right? And he's an older player and very specific skill set. I think Kansas City makes a ton of sense.
Atlanta,
just because of that body
just got
type.
rid of Mooney.
Yeah,
they signed Dotson.
Yeah.
I mean, but Dotson was what, a wide receiver 4 last season? Does Dotson really?
And Zacchaeus, and you have
That's fair.
Drake
Okay,
London.
fair.
So
that's fair.
But I don't know. It's we could spend all day talking about where Jauan Jennings is going to land. That being said,
there's
we
3
have
of us
a
now that'll
full
spitball for hours.
episode. True. Yeah. we have a full another episode we have to record. So is there like anything that we're dying to talk about that we're like, this has to be spoke about now?
No.
Bears are back. They signed a really good linebacker. I'm excited about that. That's all.
Devin Bush. Ceiling.
Devin Bush.
Ben loves it.
Yeah.
Ben loves it. Ceiling. You
Yeah?
chase ceiling in
So-
free agency, not the draft, guys.
Both. Ceiling everywhere, upside everywhere. Who cares about floor? We're going everywhere, which is really funny. It's the exact opposite in the running back video that we are going to record. I digress. It's all about calculated risk for me. Can you find areas where you can swing for the ceiling while not paying too much for it? Who knows? Different franchises require different things. That's why we see different signings always being made, different fan bases being very, very happy about it. Lots of time left. Still a lot of really good free agents available, as we kind of just like briefly just kind of spitballed that out. Still, again, a lot of moves to be made. So
Lots of fun to
keep
be
you guys
had.
updated. Yeah, lots of fun to be had. Matt, any final thoughts before we get out of here? Or was that the my upside? Your final thought here. So.
Yeah, I got nothing.
All right. I'm sure I can see you are glowing with joy and excitement, getting ready to talk about this amazing, wonderful running back class and how deep it is and how we're going to have 5 All-Pros coming from it. That being said, thank you guys for everyone who watched. Thank you for our sponsors, Regional Radio Sports, Uppercuts Grooming, and Spotify for podcasters. And make sure you guys go and watch our scouting and positional rankings. And we're about wrapped up with the offense. We're going to start defense here soon. You guys take care, and we will see you guys in the next video.